we have discussed that. We discussed that at length. I do want to talk about something else before the programme ends. Have a look at this Guardian headline. Border failings in Europe are eroding trust in nation states, warns Mahmood. That's, of course, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. And this is ahead of a meeting that she's holding. What is she actually calling for here? And she's talking with other nations, isn't she, about this?
That's right. She's hosting a summit, Shabana Mahmood, in London today, of Western Balkan nations with her sort of fellow interior ministers, as they're called in most of those countries. The Western Balkans is a sort of key smuggling route across to Western Europe and then often on to the UK in small boats. The key feature of this government...
Rick, there was the argument that actually reforming it from within is a better way to approach this.
There has been a case made over many years. I think the truth is that other countries have looked to try it, and you actually need to get that reform. You need unanimity across over 40 countries. I think realistically that's impossible to achieve.
So even though there's clearly some movement, I mean, I
don't disagree that there's been movement, but you're going to need to have absolute unanimity, and there's absolutely no way that every single country is going to agree.
Under the proposals that Rick is now putting forwards that the Conservatives have come to after over a decade in government, you wouldn't be able to return people to other countries. So, and you've got to get asylum processing sped up. They essentially stopped processing asylum claims under the last government. We've doubled the rate of asylum claims that are processed. It's saved us £1 billion in hotels. We've been able to close a number of the asylum hotels that were opened under the last government, and we've deported a record number of people. You've got to do the hard yards to solve this problem.
But in terms of the European Convention on Human Rights, the language from your government has changed, pointing up what you say are concerns about it. But Rick's point is that it's unrealistic to think that actually you can change it, even though a few more countries are speaking the same kind of language as you.
Look, I mean...
We actually signed on with Europe.
Well, yeah, but it was terrible, which is why businesses were struggling so much on your watch.
I think you'll find, actually, Lisa, businesses today, after you hike national insurance through the roof, and we've seen unemployment going up 100,000 this month alone.
Business confidence hit a 7-year high under our government after
it's not there now,
14 years
is it, though,
of low
Lisa?
or no growth. And the difficulty is that unless you're prepared to do the hard yards, unless you're prepared to start returning people, unless you're prepared to strike those agreements, unless you're prepared to process asylum claims, unless you're prepared actually to take a stance on immigration, which hit record highs under your government, you're never going to solve this problem. You're just lying to the British people.
Unless you're prepared to have a deterrent, actually, you won't solve the problem. And that's why we're seeing record numbers of people crossing the Channel this year under Lisa's government.
But what's your deterrent? I mean,
The Rwanda scheme is a clear deterrent.
Yeah, but four volunteers went back to Rwanda.
We should have... You're absolutely right.
The Home Secretary went more times than any asylum seeker.
It was absolutely absurd to cancel it. And I'm convinced that at some point down the line... you're going to, and I'm convinced that at some point down the line... you're going to have a look at... Gimmicks. You're going to have... Well, I mean it's so rich coming from the Labour Party on that. I would just say, unless you have real clear deterrents there, it's not going to work. There's absolutely no need to be part of the ECHR, right, to have returns agreements. Countries across the world
I think
have returns.
All of this
countries
just
across the world have returns agreements.
Rick, I agree that your government didn't say this in power, did you? You didn't have a clear policy to leave.
You're absolutely right. This is a change of leadership. This is a change of direction.
It is much easier, isn't it, to say these things? In opposition.
I think what we've done is we've taken the time to reflect.
Isn't there a trust problem here? The public will say you were in power.
Absolutely right.
You didn't do anything about it.
Absolutely right. To say we did nothing is not true. The truth is we've taken the time to reflect on why we lost the last general election, and one of those things quite clearly is not having as strong a line as we needed to on tackling illegal migration, but migration more generally.
I think
and that's exactly why we've taken time.
Sorry,
you had to go at me for talking over you before.
Let me
I think
finish,
it's only
and I
fair
will
to have
bring
it
you
both
back.
ways.
You
can't have your cake and eat it.
You just don't ever stop talking.
Don't eat cake. No eating cake on the sofa.
I think we've taken time to reflect on what we got wrong in government, and I think it's really sensible for this government to actually look at the promises that they made.
I don't even know what to answer. I mean, it's just been talking for such a long time. I honestly think a period of listening and humility from your party is in order. After the mess that you made, you let record numbers of migrants in. The small boat crossings happened on your watch. You effectively stopped processing asylum claims. And all of the things that you're now talking about, you had 14 years in government and you didn't do a single one of them. The thing is, Rick, sorry, just to interrupt your party political broadcast for 20 seconds.
You've mentioned that one, but you used that line before.
It's exhausting. Honestly, I don't know how how your party deals with this. But just to make...
We know that you don't know how to deal with a small vote.
Hang on.
Well, no, but look, sorry, this is your mess. And I have some sympathy for this, Rick. I do have some sympathy for this because, I remember being elected in 2010 after we'd been in government for a long time. You were a cabinet minister. The leader of the opposition was the business secretary. She is you are the people on whose watch every single problem that you're lambasting us for.
No, the truth is, Lisa, you've now been in power for 15 months. You said you'd actually get a grip and smash the gangs. Absolutely not. We're seeing record numbers crossing the channel. You said you'd deliver economic growth.
You had 14 years.
Wait. No, you've now been in power. You've now got a record to stand on.
We did. We did.
What growth sort of success story is it?
The first year of the Labour government, we were the fastest growing economy in the G7. Wages rose faster. Sorry, wages rose faster in the first 10 months of a Labour government than they did in 10 years in the government in which you're a cabinet minister. Honestly, it's pathetic.
Isn't there a problem that the public watching this will look at both of you and say you've made lots of promises, you haven't fulfilled them?
Well, look, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying no more cheap gimmicks, no more lies to the public. We are doing the hard yards it takes to turn around the mess that the Tories made of the economy and the mess that they left us in with record numbers of immigrants coming to this country and asylum claims not being processed and people not being returned. And I say to them, it will take more than 15 months to turn that around. But every day we wake up and we set to work to solve the many problems that we inherited from the last government.
Okay,
that's our commitment to the British people.
That is all for today. I will let them carry on talking on the sofa. I'll be back tomorrow with more Politics Live at 12:15 here on BBC Two.
We are doing the hard yards it takes to turn around the mess that the Tories made of the economy and the mess that they left us in with record numbers of immigrants coming to this country and asylum claims not being processed and people not being returned. And I say to them, it will take more than 15 months to turn that around. But we wake up and we set to work to solve the many problems that we inherited from the last government.
Okay,
that's our commitment to the British people.
That is all for today. I will let them carry on talking on the sofa. I'll be back tomorrow with more Politics Live at 12:15 here on BBC Two. I'll be back tomorrow with more Politics Live at 12:15 here on BBC Two.